How you doing, guys? The Novice back with another review. Akira. I'll get straight into it, guys. I really like this movie, and I'll just give reasons into why. I have like one minor flaw, but it's more to do with me personally as a viewer than the film itself. But overall, I love this movie. One of the reasons why I love this movie, first off, it's like the basic design sketch animation. I don't know what you call it of the characters and their look and the look of the worlds. Context going into this movie, I haven't seen too much. I've seen very little anime apart from like growing up, Dragon Ball Z, first season of Blade, let's say Beyblade, and then little things here and there, like first season of My Hero Academia, so on. Um, I'm starting to watch Death Note. All in all, watching this movie, I noticed something. It felt like I was watching real people, but it was just like an animated version of a real live action story. And I've noticed something. I've never felt that way watching anime, and it helped so much being invested in the story. Like I felt for characters and I felt for things that I didn't realize I could be invested in when it comes to seeing animated characters on film, unless the movie was made by Pixar, right? Like The Incredibles, watching Up, Toy Story, movies that I've associated with growing up that are animated and that produce a certain, like a specific emotional reaction. I've not encountered that watching anime almost at all. Yeah, almost at all. But watching this, I think it had to do with the design of these characters. I don't know if that's because it's like a from so long ago, but it just felt basic, but basic enough. So when the more surreal stuff you see in this movie starts to happen, it didn't feel like it was completely contradicting the aesthetic of this world. I don't know if it's just me, but that's the vibe. Like it felt basic but effective with the look of this world. Even the skyscrapers. Um, there's a big kind of chase scene at the start of this movie, and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, I know this movie is like in the likeness of a films like Blade Runner, right? Like dystopian, sci-fi type stuff." But I never felt like it was trying too hard to emulate one thing or another in terms of different movies and genres. It just felt like it was its own thing, and I noticed that little things in the film, like the buildings, it just looked like again another metropolis city that had debris and all that stuff because of certain things that happen in this movie that is not exactly the same as real world versions of these kind of cities, but it's just a regular our city, but with some irregular stuff. I won't get into that, spoilers. And that's definitely something I liked about this movie. It just felt real and not too over the top. It, but when it did get over the top, I loved it. I love the surrealism in this movie. I There's something I want to spoil so badly. Teddy bear. Whoa, that scene was crazy. I loved how in this movie, when it came to like the more surreal, over the top imagery, it took its time with it. Like it wasn't trying to be in your face. Again, that's the stereotype of anime. That anime is just like a Transformers movie. Everything's that overstimulation, bang bang bang, shoot shoot shoot, stab stab stab, explosions, cities collapsing, falling down. Watching this film, when things started to get more and more strange, both visually and then in terms of the story, it felt natural. I never once, I noticed myself feeling this. I never once felt like, oh, you know what, this is too much. This put me off. It weirded me out, but in a good way. And that's another positive for this movie and why this movie made me feel some type of way. It was just escalation, right? Another thing, the music. I like the music in this movie again. Not trying to be over the top. It felt like it naturally gelled with scenes, but I noticed it because it was such good music. Like I'm definitely gonna find the Akira soundtrack if they have like the original soundtrack on YouTube. I know they do. It's a classic anime. How could they not? I'm definitely gonna find that and put that on my instrumental playlist. There's a specific sound, piece of music that you hear during a like one or two scenes. Uh, Again, I don't want to give it away, but whenever I hear it, I love the sound of it. It just reminds me of something like something that you would, I don't know the words, when you lose focus and you just go into like this kind of daze. I don't know, like the stereotype of a dude on a mountain meditating or something like that. I loved it. I can't give away what it is because I want you guys to watch it and see for yourselves. But I really liked this film because of the music too. You know what this film reminded me of? Also, by the way, it reminded me of Batman Beyond, or Batman in the Future, which is what I called it because that's what they called it in the UK when I was watching it growing up. There's some scene where they show you like the underground culture, the criminal culture, and there's some scene where the guys in like face paint and masks. And I think it's like, what does this reminds me of? And the obvious reference, obviously, is sci-fi dystopia, like a Blade Runner and stuff like that. But specifically, my mind went to watching Batman in the Future when I was younger on TV. I was like, oh yeah, that's really God. Akira, you can tell, has influenced everything. Everything. I heard one of my favorite YouTubers at the moment, James does cinema versus cinema. I forget. He was talking about The Boys season 2, and he referenced Akira during one of the episodes. I understand perfectly what he meant now. Perfectly. Yeah, shout out to him. And then just lastly, the thing I love about this movie, I love that it didn't even feel sci-fi at times. It just felt like a horror sometimes, but in not in a traditional jump scare way, more in a disturbing, like it made me feel itchy. That's the that's crazy to think about. Like I wanted to scratch myself and look like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Like, oh shit, you know what I mean. Um, there's scenes in this film where, like I said, I don't feel completely comfortable, but I loved how it added to that kind of uncertainty throughout this movie. Like I really didn't know where they were going with this, even though I've heard things about what happens in this movie and I've heard references in pop culture from other things, Rick and Morty, so and so. To go back to that horror point I was making, like it seemed disturbing at times. Like this, whatever's happening to the main character, like for once, it I don't see this ending well, and I actually don't mind if it doesn't end well because it seemed that insane to me. Like I didn't mind if certain people weren't saved in this movie. That's for the first. I'm usually not that kind of person. Like I don't mind a Game of Thrones. I like stuff that's more mature, but I do want a happy ending. In this, watching Akira, I actually didn't mind if there wasn't a happy ending. That's how good this movie is. It made me so invested in the third act, especially, and like all the some of the horrific imagery that it didn't even bother me that it ended the way that it to me was positive because it was a victory in a way, but not for certain characters that lost certain things. But yeah, I just left the film just feeling good, to be honest. Definitely, you guys tell me down below what you think of this movie. Do you think I should do a spoiler review? Because that's maybe the one issue with this movie that has more to do with me as a viewer. There were things as far as this world and the politics of this world that were hard to grasp just listening to it, like on my first viewing. So I want to watch this film again, but obviously that's on me. So I want to watch it again and give some spoiler thoughts. What do you think, guys? Should I do a spoiler review? What do you think of this movie if you've seen it? If you haven't seen it, would you watch it based on this review? Again, tell me all your thoughts down below. Press that thumbs up button. Comment. Subscribe. Other than that, signing off. Laters.